that by reading Carl Jung's Man and His Symbols. Like when I was really young, I read Man and His Symbols, and that book was like it was a bridge across from like nothingness to everythingness. Because once I understood the fact that people responded to symbols and people responded to colors and because I always thought that the world was more random, you know, that you couldn't really like figure out like why somebody liked my drawing of a surfer better than somebody else's drawing of a surfer. But after I read Man and His Symbols, I realized that there was a sort of a commonality of mind, you know, that we're a lot less different than we'd like to think we are. You know, that there's a lot of similarities. Like I might know pretty much after knowing you for a couple of weeks, you know, what you might be thinking, you know, how you feel about things. And pretty soon I know about a lot of people. So when I saw the digital age coming and I saw that the internet, I thought to myself, whoa, this is like what he talks about. The collective unconscious has like suddenly come together in some sort of an electronic way. And like everybody's like sitting on this sort of bubbling electronic miasma, and you can like zoom in and you can find things, you know, and you can pull back and use a thing, and you go back and you can like, you know, the memes, you can easily send a meme out. Like when I first saw like how easy it was to like say something online and get like a huge reaction to it, I went, wow, this is like, you know, what Buckminster Fuller talked about when you plug the box in and suddenly you're connected with everybody. Because at the time I read that and I thought, what kind of box would that be? I mean, what would that, you know, it's like, you know, in the 60s I couldn't even imagine like what you could plug into the wall that would like give you instant access to everything. And then when I saw the computer, I thought, Buckminster Fuller, it's his box. Rarely seen things you hear a lot about, but you never actually see them. Elba.
Yeah.
With Robert Crumb, right? So was he part of the surf movement then?
Not at all. He actually just came in to do a surf comic book with me and Rick Griffin and Robert Williams and a couple other people. Surfer Magazine decided at some point to do a surfing comic book, and they wanted to get like underground comic artists, but nobody surfed except for me and Rick. So we got together everybody we knew, and Robert and you know, Robert Crumb and everybody. Once Robert handed it to me, I did this, then another guy did this, then Ed did that. So what we did was we just sat around all night, like basically till 5 o'clock in the morning, passing these panels around and then putting them together. So they really don't have any sequence at all. And then they ended up in an underground comic book.
You're doing the psychedelic posters, but you've also done like Fugazi's posters, Pearl Jam, Beck.
All that, yeah. Even you too.
Anybody really famous?
I think the reason why it's a good idea is because it's not my idea. It's something that happens.
So these things are a complete collaborative effort, you know, from the drawing to the design to the coloration. So the idea was that we'd have, you know, like a group TAZ.
Jim Evans in the 80s was behind TAZ, which is the title of one of my favorite anarchy manifestos, Temporary Autonomous Zones by Hakim Bey.
I'm not like the father of the TAZ. I just noticed it. Maybe I gave a clever name or something.
The reason he had chosen that name was because he really believes in collaboration.
His first Malibu home was burned down in 1993, and we have Jim Evans on the phone with us right now.
Started way back on the other side of Topanga and came out over the mountains, across the hills, and burned our house.
It kind of changed my life. That's why I kind of went into the digital direction. It was so disappointing to see the house as a smoldering ruin and like nothing left of anything I had done. Let's move on to something else.
Well, that's essentially when TAZ became Division 13. What he's doing now is creating these aesthetically pleasing viral campaigns.
But after I read Carl Jung's Man and His Symbols, I realized that there was a sort of a commonality of mind, that we're a lot less different than we'd like to think we are.